Don in London, hello, good morning. In fact, it's good afternoon. Good afternoon from me in London, 7th of March 2010. My video is all about recovery from either addiction to substance or behaviour, or in my case, both. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, equally addictive, work, relationships, collecting, materialism, you name it. If it had an advert, I would buy it. Well, if I had the money. So, yes, how did I ever become an addict? And what is being an addict? Well, an addict is someone who cannot stop doing something, and it's insane. It's the problem, or the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So, when I took my first drink, it took the edge off, made me feel convivial, happy and joyful. And I was horribly young. I was about 7 or 8. But it didn't make me into an alcoholic straight away. Or did it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I probably had a predisposition to try to fix myself in some way from a very early age because I was fearful. What was I fearful of? Life. Just life in general. So these days I try not to be so fearful of life in general on a daily basis. And today it's all about willingness to change, really, for me. I was looking up some quotes, and there's some literature I want to quote from a bit later. It's all about willingness to change, to be more open, honest and willing to change my attitude and behaviour on a daily basis. So addiction, 35 years easily of being addicted to fear primarily, and trying to take the edge off it or trying to fix it. So I don't know which is which, really, the fear as the addiction or the way I try to fix it. Probably both. It's all mixed up together, and although we can separate out all the different bits, like fear, putting on a brave face, covering everything up with ego, trying to look right, trying to be perfect, striving to be perfect, and setting such high standards for myself, it gave me a good excuse to fall back on drink. Or work, or relationships, people, places and things, you name it, I try to fix it, or me, with it. I don't do that anymore, at least I hope not. I'm not, certainly not to the same extent. So I know I need a little bit of fear in my life to keep me safe. I need a bit of a brave face when things are tough. I need a tiny bit of ego when things aren't going my way, just to spike me up a bit, but not enough to become obsessive. So I can find on a daily basis my courage, faith and confidence to face the day. Sorry, there were noises off. Anyway, all about recovery, my videos, and what helps me keep sober one day at a time. Mainly, it's about making the right choice on a daily basis, and what helps me most in that is being a part of life again, family, community, society, and a fellowship which keeps me on track on a daily basis, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and I share the AA preamble here, the statement of intent about what AA can and cannot do, and how it impacts on my life, and one or two readings from one of the books of literature called Daily Reflections, and anything else that seems appropriate or pertinent, and in this case about willingness. So the AA statement of intent reads like this: Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So in there, most relevant to me always on a daily basis is the only requirement for going to AA, simply a desire, nothing else, just a desire to stop drinking and to share a message of experience, strength and hope with others who would prefer to be in recovery rather than struggling in the addiction. So what's the difference from being a struggling, not in recovery alcoholic to being in recovery and not struggling most of the time? But sometimes we do struggle, because life is like that. You know, life doesn't change and suddenly become wonderful all the time. It has its ups and downs. So the happy road of destiny that we all trudge has potholes and puddles in it, just like anybody else experiences. But it's how we change our attitude and behaviour on a daily basis to seeing things as catastrophic and a good excuse for a drink, or to fix ourselves with something else, people, places or things, or to be a part of life, to be included and say, this is part of life, the hardship bit. And I'm experiencing quite a lot of pain at the moment because of the fractures in my foot, and I've just been out because it's beautifully sunny. It's a beautiful spring morning, or almost spring morning, and I needed some food, so it was a good excuse to put my metal boot on to protect the fractures in my leg, or in my foot rather. But it hasn't been that successful. The pain is immense, and I didn't follow advice and take the prescription for painkillers. So that's my fault. But we ought to take medicine when it's suggested, not to excess, but to the levels that are on the packet, if I had one. Anyway, I shall sort that out tomorrow, and I shall be very careful today. Daily reflections for today in this book, all about recovery, one from AA. And in this book it covers the 12 steps of action to change our attitude and behaviour. And those 12 steps are about living the 12 steps, not learning them, passing an exam and then thinking they're over. They're about living to the principles of those 12 steps. And the third step, which is, this one's got March, all about the third step, reads exactly as, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And it's your understanding of God or a higher power, something which can be informing you on a daily basis of the better choice to make to sobriety and living. So whatever it is that is your higher power, be it AA, your doctor, your religion, whatever it happens to be, or simply the fellowship which has all the wisdom needed to stay sober, it's what works for you in your daily life. So I like the idea, and I enjoy understanding God is truth, the truth that I am always looking for, or living the truth of now. God is love, God works through people, and my goodness, does God work through people in fellowship who have more experience, strength and hope than I would ever wish for. Anyway, for March 7th in this book, the key is willingness. Once we have placed the key of willingness in the lock, and have the door ever so slightly open, we find that we can always open it some more, and this is about higher power. The willingness to give up my pride and self-will to a higher power greater than myself has proved to be the only ingredient absolutely necessary to solve all of my problems today. So in other words, when I was running on self-will, run riot, self-obsessed and extremely unable in the illness of addiction to do anything but follow my own guide, I was isolated and could not get out of self-will. Now I've gone the other way. I've gone to listening to other people, understanding there is more wisdom out there than I can ever accumulate or absorb about being sober and living life. And if you hear those glasses going in the background, that's my next door neighbour, the restaurant, checking out the empties from lunchtime. Anyway, it says, even the smallest amount of willingness, if sincere, is sufficient to allow God to enter and take control over any problem, pain or obsession. My level of comfort is in direct relation to the degree of willingness I possess at any given moment to give up my self-will and allow God's will, or the wisdom of other people, to be manifested in my life. With the key of willingness, my worries and fears are powerfully transformed. Just hear those bottles going. Transformed into serenity. And even though you hear the bottles, I don't normally hear them. So the gift for me in all of this is I'm learning what I can and cannot do on a daily basis. And that serenity prayer to God or good conscience or a higher power of your understanding. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is learning it just for today.